And hello, everybody. Good morning. Excellent. Marshall got the tickets and hotel for April. Very excited. Where are you staying, Marshall? Um, really excited to meet together with you all. It's February 12th. It's my son's 15th birthday today. So super excited about that. And all trading involves a substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Don't forget, we have the big link document full of links for you with links to the short lessons and the slides and the indicators and whatnot. So that's there for you. And let's just jump on over to February 12th. So I want to take a look at our bounty spreadsheet today and a few instruments. I want to talk for maybe a moment or two about the UVXY. And I don't have a lot to say about any of those things, and I don't know if we're going to have a brand new trade coming up today, or if we're going to be closing out UVXY, which I think I am going to be closing that out today at some point in time. I'm only down $280 on UVXY today. I was down as much as $800 yesterday, so I'm not sure what'll happen with that today. Oh, Marshall, you're at the Westin. That's perfect. We'll be able to spend a bunch of time together. That's great. Okay, so I want to ask this question today, and I'm going to leave the questions and answers panel open while I ask this question. I'm going to be honest. I'm always going to just tell you exactly what's on my mind. So I'm a little burned out here. It's been a month, been sleeping less and taking care of stuff at home, and I really enjoy doing that. And I've had a amazing experience having more time with the kids as my wife is recovering, and then we had the situations with the dogs and whatnot. But I'm exhausted, and it's times like this that I tend to be less successful as a trader because I will end up doing something absolutely insane, you know, on very little rest or whatever. So I want to ask a question today, and I'd love to hear what your answers are for this. So it would interest me greatly if you would take a moment and answer, why do you want to succeed? And more importantly, and more topically, and particularly, more to do with what we have going on right now, why do you want that big trade? It might be a $57,000 trade for you. It might be a $5,700 trade for you. It might be a $570 trade for you. But why do you want it? I'd like to hear from you in the comments or the chat. I've got both of those boxes open. Keep in mind, on the recording, you will be able to see your comments. So if you don't want your answer to be visible, then don't type it. And then just think it in your mind. Financial security and retirement. That's a good one. Matthew says, hope you find some time to rejuvenate. Yeah, right. That's no kidding. So, Matthew, I'm going to Washington, D.C. next week to sit in court with Roger Stone and his family. So, I'm going to enjoy seeing him and spending some time with him. So, I'm looking forward to that. And I'll be able to get a lot of rest and sleep during that short trip to Washington. So, I'm really looking forward to that. Is the address for the meeting in the Woodlands? Just me. The Woodlands is small, Sue. So just stay in the Woodlands and you'll be fine. You'll be able to take an Uber. Um, the best places to stay are the Westin or the Marriott in the Woodlands. And you should be getting an email in the next 24 hours that lets you RSVP, and then there'll be a series of emails that go out. I don't know where we're going to book the meeting space yet because I don't know how many people are going to RSVP. If we only have 5 or 6, I can book the Regis on Waterway. And then otherwise, we'll probably book a meeting room at the Marriott. So, if you could book a room at the Marriott, you'd be really golden. Marshall says freedom. Get out of the rat race for Alvaro. Pay for my trip to the Woodlands, says Marshall. Confidently trading for retirement. Yeah, Sue, those are great goals to help your son. We're sending out a link today, Sue, so it should be in your email. I'll actually text while I'm waiting for most of you to answer. Are we sending out that link to RSVP for coaching today? Could I post that in the webinar? Okay, we'll get that out. Get out of debt, teach the children and grandchildren to trade. Oh, to know that you finally mastered trading after working at it for 20 years. Tired of working for someone else. These are great answers. Succeed so you have the option to spend more time with your family. That's excellent. And great. Tom's asking, where am I going to stay in Vegas? Probably the Venetian. It's probably where I'm staying. I have no interest in going to the money show at all, so I don't care about staying in the same hotel as the money show. Probably going to stay at the Venetian, and I'm probably going to get my nails done, and I'm probably going to get a pedicure, and I'm probably going to hang out, and I'm probably going to have the largest breakfast in America one of those days with you, Tom. So, yeah, so you don't want to spend 60 hours a week away from home. These are really good answers. And okay, so think about those answers. I'm going to think about my answer right now. My answer is probably it's very similar in some ways to yours, but in others maybe, different. I want to take better care of the people I love, and in particular at this stage in my life, I want to do something nice for myself as well. I hope that that's one of your answers also. And taking care of other people is certainly something that you do for yourself. It's selfish in a way, right? You're doing something that gives you a sense of pride and accomplishment. But you got to remember also to take care of yourself and reward yourself because you're doing all the work here. So don't forget that there's something in it for you. I have watched people at times be unsuccessful at trading that could have otherwise been successful, but they really didn't like their life or their lifestyle. And so they were almost, it was almost clear to me that they were unsuccessful because they didn't want to fund a life that they didn't want. And as soon as they put themselves first in an appropriate way, they were successful at trading. It's really, really kind of weird. It's kind of a it's kind of a strange thing in that respect. You subconsciously you don't want to reward yourself for living a life that you don't like, and you certainly don't want to fund or pay for a lifestyle that you don't enjoy. It's a subconscious cognitive dissonance that you can't achieve. Anyway, with that said, so all of those reasons to take care of your family, to help your children pay off stuff, or to help be closer to your family and not work 60 hours a week or whatever, all of those things are more important than actually taking trades, right? More important than being impulsive. You don't really want to trade, right? If trading isn't your first goal, um, having those things you just listed out is your first goal. And what I find is that if you go back to the reason that you're doing it and you remind yourself of that, it helps you to stay off the computer when you should be staying off the computer. I almost closed the UVXY trade yesterday, and it's a total violation of my rules. It hadn't reached the maximum loss, and it hadn't failed yet as a trade. And I almost closed it, and I thought, no, this is ridiculous. Why would I do that? On the other hand, yesterday, I kind of encouraged folks here to possibly take some of their profit on ONTX. And I gotta say, that was a pretty good decision. And you may have caused some of this downward movement when you did that. It's possible. But this has a lot more room to go up again. And a second leg of this trade could go twice as far as the first time that it went up. And so I think we're doing things right. We're not being excessive. We're not being impulsive. We're not putting on too many trades. We're not letting a loss run against us. Look, LABD, it dropped against us. It was doing well and then it failed. We will probably get back into this trade at another time, and we will probably turn that into a big winner. But the greatest news is we didn't let this become a giant failure. And I think you've got to log that down as part of being successful. That I don't think that we've taken one horrendous trade together. I think all of our trades have had a completely reasonable result, whether it was successful or break even or whatever. We're managing things in a ultra responsible fashion. And that makes me really happy. And I'm really proud of everybody here for doing that. So I just wanted to remind you, like, we are on track here, and we are going to have some significantly positive experiences. More things like ONTX, more things like UVXY bursting into profit suddenly. We're going to have more things like that. I think TLRD is going to be one of those. I think that's going to be a giant success. I think that NBRV is going to be a phenomenal positive success. I think that might suddenly in a day or two or three move $1 or more and produce a pretty substantial win for us. So I'm really looking forward to that. I think that there's just a lot more great stuff to come. I think it's a great trade. I think that it's the perfect setup. And I think that there's this, I think the way that we're doing things now, it's okay if this moves against us. And it's okay if this isn't a win because we got a good price and we took the trade at the right time. And so now it's really hard at this point to make any significant mistake. And if look at all the room that the RSI has to move down here. I really love what we're doing on these trades. If you look at the British pound, Japanese yen, I'm still in it, and we're right at the monthly pivot. One thing I love about this trade is that it's taken a while, and that we've talked about it now and then, but we're not over managing it. We're not excessively obsessing about it. We're just in it. We'll get out of it if we have to, and we'll take something else if we want to. I love that attitude. We're trading with a lot of, I think, confidence and patience. We're waiting for the trades to come to us. We're we're evaluating trades on a consistent basis. We're not switching systems. We're not changing what we do. We're evaluating the technical side of things. We know exactly what it looks like at the beginning, that we're supposed to watch the numbers and look for a possible loss. And then we know exactly what we're supposed to do when it's a win. We're supposed to stay with it. We're supposed to let it breathe. We're supposed to let it go. And we're doing those things. We're not breaking any of those really important rules. So today I want to look at keys, JCI, TSU, MIME, CLF. I want to look at those ones. Those are reasonably new ones by Randy, Allen, and Allen. So let's look at CLF. Ooh, look at all those bullish profit circles. Well, that's delightful. Cleveland Cliffs. Earnings coming up on February 20th. Definitely a buy trade possibility there. What do we do when we've got multiple bullish profit circles? We seem to go up. That seems to have worked in the past. I like the steady, I love the steadiness of this. Like when it goes up, it's kind of a steady climb. So you need to give it 120 days at least for those options need to be a little bit longer term. I love it. I think this is a 100% awesomeness. Who posted that? Randy H. Randy, you'll get credit for that once I take it, if I do. MIME. Whoa. Yeah, we already looked at this one, didn't we? Right? Because it had the bearish profit circles and then the bearish divergence. And we drew this arrow. Wow, look at that move down after earnings. Even surprised to the upside. Yeah, that's beautiful. I think that has more room to go down. The profit circles are kind of in the opposite area that we expect them to be. I'm going to take a drink of water. Sorry. And that's a little bit concerning, but I still think that's a neat one. I'm not going to put it on our list right now because it's already started to move. TSU, published by Allen. Wow, what is this? Brazil's wireless carrier beats estimates. So I would love to see another bearish profit circle. So Allen C. I'm going to give you credit for this if I end up seeing that. I think this could definitely be a trade coming up. I'd like to see another bearish profit circle. So we've looked at CLF, and we've already looked at Sony. JCI. So I don't have the divergence there. Johnson Controls. Is it in a long-term upward trend? Oh, it is. That's a buy. So you get an upward trend, you get a pullback, and then it's a buy. That's a neat trade. That's a trend trade, and we don't take a lot of trend trades, do we? This would be a nice balance to some of the things that we do. That's a nice balanced. I want to look at Johnson Controls. I want to look at some options. Like a call that expires in April at least, and it's trading at $41. So a $42 call seems to have a reasonably thin 76 to 85 cents. 10 contracts is $810. Absolutely yes. Okay, who posted that one? I took that trade. Alan V. If two people post the same trade, I don't know what I'll do. I'll probably take the person who posted it first. We won't ever have any arguments about this because I'll just make sure you're both taken care of. But let's try to check first on the spreadsheet and see if anybody else posted it. I'm sure we won't really have that much of a problem. But I haven't seen that happen yet. But Alan V, if that trade's a win, I'll split that money with you. Assuming it's $1,000 trade, that's a $500 thing. If I close it early or something like that. That's beautiful. That's a beautiful trend trade. We don't really take a lot of trend trades, do we? And that's one. This is part of our systematic way of looking at trend trades. If we're in an upward trend, we pull back and we get some bullish profit circles. It's a buy trade. We looked at gold yesterday, and we talked about how gold had done exactly this. Upward trend, went sideways about the same length of time as Johnson Controls, then printed some bullish profit circles. I actually published that trade in Exotics Club. I don't know how many people took it, but I published that trade there. Was super happy about it. Matthew, I'm definitely going to answer your question about the printing of the bullish profit circles. We'll get there. So JCI, we've looked at that, and I'm going to mark it in green. I can't remember what we do when I take the trade, but I'll mark it in green. And then Keys from Randy. Keysight Technologies. Bullish trend, bullish profit circle. That's just one. That's really a trend trade. That's really a bullish trend trade. That's what that would be, Randy. That would actually be a trend trade, in my opinion, because we have move up, move back down, and then a bullish profit circle. And it went down from there, but the trend is still up, and we never got bearish divergence that would suggest that the trade was ready to go down a lot. And sure, it's right before earnings, so maybe we ought to just hold back. But I would be more of a bull than a bear on that one. Okay, Matthew said by the time the profit circle shows up, some of the momentum has already gone out. Now, that's an interesting way to say it. Like right here, the bullish profit circle prints, and already we have seen some upward movement by then. That's good. We want to see it. We want to go with the market, what the market is doing. We want to do a little bit less anticipation and a little bit more following what is happening. So that bearish profit circle, when combined with the divergence, that happens pretty close to the top right there. These two bearish profit circles don't have the divergence, so we can basically just ignore those anyway. But if you take any random financial instrument, like this is one bearish profit circle, it's really not enough, so it wouldn't matter anyway. This is really one bearish profit circle, not enough. You could see some bullish profit circles here in the midst of an upward trend. That's kind of what we'd like to see. Both of these are buys right here on keys. Both of those. And yes, there's some movement before those profit circles are printed that shows that maybe we're getting in a little bit after the move starts, but that's kind of what we want to do. We want to get in a little bit after the move starts. So look at this bottom on keys. I don't know what this company does, but that's pretty awesome that in the midst of this, upward trend that starts, we get this pullback to the side and then a bullish profit circle and then just a steady climb upwards. Same is true for bearish markets as well. If it's falling a ton, we get this, this bear market recovery and then a sell. So it's a nice look. I really like Johnson Controls. I hope Johnson Controls goes to, I don't know, $42.81 pretty soon. Doesn't seem out of the question. It seems like it takes Johnson Controls a while to move. It's a big company, right? I mean, the market cap is what? $31 billion. So I bought the 17th of April, $42 calls. I think I did. Oh gosh, did I buy the puts? Let's hope I didn't. No, I bought the calls. I own 10 of the $42 April 17th calls. Those are already up today, but they could go up a lot more. I'm perfectly okay with that. And I could have chosen the $41 calls. I would be perfectly happy to choose those ones as well. I didn't even look at open interest. We can look at that now. $43 call has 1,900 contracts of open interest. Seem to be a lot of people interested in those $43 calls. I like it. I'm happy to be in that trade. Really happy to be in that trade. Sue, you've brought this question up before, so it definitely deserves an answer. Hey, Rob, recently you said to manage open trades by the numbers, but then you keep looking at the charts. So my question is, which is it? Okay, I'm going to give the same answer I've given every single time you've asked this. So here we go. At the start, and when we are looking at a negative trade, it's all numbers. Period. So at the start of a trade, and when we're looking at a negative trade, it's all numbers. Now, if I look at the chart, I'm in a webinar with you all, and that doesn't negate anything that I just said. We're in a webinar together, and you're going to want to see the charts. And remember, some people may not have already taken the trade. One thing, Sue, that you're great at is process and discipline. One thing that could get in your way is taking things too literally. So, I'm going to look at a chart every once in a while, but that doesn't necessarily negate. So there's this flexible zone where it's okay if I look at the chart, but the negative, when at the start of the trade, I'm going to be looking at the charts because some people might not already be in it. And at the start of the trade, when it's a loss, I might be looking at the chart because we're in a webinar. But the closing of that trade at the beginning or when the trade has gone bad is all numbers. It's all for me about a 1% or 0.5% or 1.5%, or on a small account, a 10% loss. It's all numbers when it comes down to making the final decision. I might look at charts during this time, but the final decision about the trade is all numbers. When the trade is a winner and moving in the right direction, I am going to be looking at the charts. Is it approaching a technical level? Is it getting close to the technical goal I set? So I'm not willing to accept more than my maximum loss. But I am willing to accept more than my initial profit, or even a little bit less than my initial profit. Because once it's a winner, I have all kinds of wonderful decisions that I can make. I can say, oh my gosh, it's moved 90% of the way to its profit target. I'm taking the money. And that's a completely awesome decision because it's close to the profit target and I don't want to let a win turn into a loss. And I want to look at the charts because if it's a win and we are one day away from earnings, I might want to get out of the way of the earnings. So the charts really matter. But as far as a loss is concerned, I really have to make that final decision by the numbers. I can't see, I don't want to close a losing trade super early. I want to give it the room that I said I was going to give it. And I definitely don't want to let it go further than I said I was going to let it just because, oh, look, there's a level, or it could stop there, or look at the chart, or maybe if I look at the short term chart, or you know what I mean? People get into that. But the only reason I look at the charts, even though I'm saying I'm judging it by the numbers, is that we're here with a group of people, some of whom aren't in the trade yet, and who want to look at the charts. And so I'm going to talk about those charts. So remember, I'm going to do things from time to time that are going to seem contradictory, but I'm not going to take. But that's because I get to be a human. But I'm not going to. I'm not going to violate my risk parameters on losses. I'm not going to do that. And if it does happen, we're going to spend an entire webinar talking about what an idiot I was. But I'm not going to violate those rules. And so losses are always about the numbers. And winners are really about sort of, what if it gets 100% of the distance to its profit target, or it gaps and goes 200% of the distance to its profit target? We can move our stop loss, protect all of our profit, and let it go even further. And if it was just by the numbers at that point, we might not let a win become a giant win. And we want to let that happen. It's exactly the opposite of what most people do. What most people do is they let a loser become a giant loser, and they don't let a win go further than it's even 10% of its profit target. I mean, it's so common, it's almost comical. People do not let their winners run. And in fact, they cut off their winning trades. It's so crazy that we all do that. So I may do things from time to time that make it look weird, but I promise you, I know what the rule is. I'm just looking at charts from time to time because we're here in a group. That's all. So my Johnson Controls JCI was the $42 strike. I also like the $41 strike. I don't care which one. And so I like those. I like giving Johnson Controls until April. I like the April 17th. And so that gives it 1 month to March, another 60 days plus, so 70 days or so. I don't know what it would cost to get the July one. That gives it a ton of time. But it looks like it would cost about $1.58 for the $42. And it would have to be at, there's some, oh, you get open interest right there on the platform. That's nice. Oh, and you even get some bid and ask numbers. That's pretty cool. That's great. Yeah, so July, I think, was just buying more time than necessary. I don't think I want that much time. I'm kind of expecting Johnson Controls to be a winning trade within, I mean, it's a trend trade. I'm kind of expecting it to be a win within a week or so. I want to see it start to go positive within a week or so. And sorry, Sue, I understand you didn't hear the answer yet. That's all good. You keep bringing up really great questions, so it's nice to be able to go on those. Oh, LaDonna has a really interesting note. She says, I'm going to look at the pivots and support and resistance once the trade is moving for or against me. I'm looking for ebb and flow. I like it. Do I like the pound yen trade for those who have not entered yet? Yes. 100,000% yes. I love this trade right now, this sell trade, because at this point, you could short it here with, so let's say you have a $2,000 account and you could have $100 stop loss, and you could trade, I don't know, one mini lot, and so you could give yourself 100 pips of room for that to stop out, which is plenty of room. That's above the weekly pivot. Or you could trade a half of a mini lot and give yourself 200 pips of room for that to stop out. And then you could just let that thing rip. And if it starts to break below that trend line again, you could add another trade. So I like that. And we got another bullish profit circle on JCI. So absolutely spectacular. Here's Sony again for those of you that missed it. Nothing much to say here. I was kind of talking about this earlier. This is one of those where we got a great price, we got a good entry, we got a good setup, we took it on the right time, we took it at the right place, we took it on the right financial instrument, the setup was good. I would expect this to drift lower at this point. If the trend is going to continue, we're going to see this drift sideways. And then it's going to print some bullish profit circles. And then we're going to go, uh-oh. But we will already have reached our maximum loss at that point. And we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Let's not start making rules for stuff that hasn't happened yet. Let's trade what we see. What we see right now is it hasn't started to move. Is that going to frustrate me? Yeah, sure it is. But I'm going to manage this by the numbers. Like, once again, I'm not going to look at this chart and reevaluate my trade right now. That would not be instrumental in my decision making. I would truly be making a mistake if I looked at the chart and I started to make some brand new decisions about this trade. It's just, everything's just noise right now on this chart. Same for NBRV. I took this in the Tastyworks small account. There's just nothing about this chart that shows me anything right now at all. There's no indication that I made a good decision or a bad decision, if it's going to be a win or if it's going to be a loss. There's no indication from the beginning of the trade that it's just not enough time in the trade. And that's why using a chart at the beginning of the trade is really inconsequential and lame, and it doesn't work. It's what most people do. Most people will get into a trade and then they can't stop looking at the chart. And that is so counterintuitive, because what are you expecting to see? You're only going to see movement a little bit above and a little bit below your entry. So it's got to be about the numbers. Now, once it starts to break out in the direction that you wanted it to go, well, that's when it starts to make sense to start looking at the chart, because now you're saying, okay, how fast is it moving? And how much room does the RSI still have? And have we reached the missed pivot point yet? Did we blow past it? Can I move my stop loss? That's when it starts to make sense, because then the market's picked a direction and confirmed whether you did the right thing or not. But it hasn't done that yet on our trade. And so I want to avoid, when somebody like, okay, you've probably experienced this before, either personally, I have, or, through a friend. Somebody likes somebody else in the office, which is inappropriate and whatever else. But then what happens is that person can't stop thinking about that person and can't stop wondering if that person likes them too, even though that other person has no idea what's going on. And so in this case, NBRV is that other person. I wonder if it likes me. I don't know if it likes me. I'm thinking about it. Is it thinking about me? No, it's not thinking about me at all. It literally has no interest in me right now and doesn't even know I exist. Now, once it starts moving in my favor, it expresses interest in me. And what I want to do at that point is then I want to start working together with it. I want to ask it out. I want to spend some time with it. I want to give it some room, right? You don't want to cut something off that's working, that finally gives you the indication that you were waiting for. It's a pretty good analogy if you ask me. Ronald asks, what was the trade on the pound yen? We shorted the pound yen a while back. Oh yeah. So Mark, can we discuss ideas? Yeah, Mark, I can't wait to meet with you about stuff. So I traded Ferrari a while back in the Exotics Club, and I can't remember the exact dates, but I think it was about here in August, right? August, September, and then it dropped. Um, I think that's when it was. And was it lucky? And the answer is, one bearish divergence, one bearish profit circle, and a gajillion dollars in debt. That was definitely not a lucky trade. That was completely stupendously awesome. Um, the fundamentals and the technicals were just super giantly lined up, and I would take that trade all over again. There's something else I would do, however, on that second bullish profit circle. Now that I know that that's a trend continuation trade, so Mark, the thing I would do better is I would consider buying it on that bullish profit circle. Speaking of car companies, Tesla just kind of stopped moving. I mean, it's just totally not moving anymore. Technically speaking, this is what generally happens from here. I have a friend who calls this a 3-day pattern or whatever. Boom. That technically in the next, 24 to 48 hours, this thing would just be a absolute ripping, up to $1,000 or so. Yeah, I wasn't really feeling well today, but I think we had a good session here. My new trade is JCI. It's a trend trade. We don't take enough of those. We don't take enough trend trades. And we did just now. Is SpaceX a public company? I can't remember if it is. I thought it was, but maybe it's still a private company. I don't know why I thought SpaceX. Private company. What I heard is they're going to spin off into a public company the satellite internet division of SpaceX, which I think will end up being more valuable than Tesla. And because once they launch those satellites and start undercutting the price of internet, once those satellites are up in the air and they're providing 5G broadband internet to your house and your everything else, I just don't think anybody can compete with them. I think that's going to be, and they just have such a head start on everyone else putting stuff in the air. It's so hard to compete with that. I mean, you talk about a moat. Tesla's moat, business moat around electric cars is precarious because their brand is number one, but Porsche just, I mean, crushed it. I mean, they did a great job building an electric car. So it's clear that other companies can build an electric car, and Rivian is going to build a great truck. I'm going to be driving a Cybertruck, but I mean, whatever. Their competition in the area of EV car making is going to intensify. But no one's going to be able to land a rocket on a platform and launch hundreds of internet satellites into space. That may be their most profitable company ever. This Solar City, that's not a business with a big competitive advantage moat around it. That doesn't count. Tesla's just got brand loyalty, of course, but I think that business wise, SpaceX and which is already profitable, and the internet satellite. That's those companies are potentially going to be the most valuable companies in their portfolio. Oh yeah, Virgin Galactic is a public space. Sorry, I lost connection for a bit. Did you exit UVXY? No, I did not. Thought about it, but I'm managing it by the numbers. Like we look at it a lot, but that's because some of you might want to take it now if you didn't take it already. But otherwise, I was down $800 on this yesterday. I'm down $280 now. I'm just not interested. The fact that it has trailed off and gone lower, honestly, I'll be honest. Like if you look at a 15-minute chart, um, what does this look like to you? It looks like the trend trades that we just talked about. So I'm not looking at the charts because I can find plenty of reasons to go, oh, it's falling against me. Oh, it's looking like a trend trade on the 15-minute chart. Like, I don't need all of that stress in my life. So, yeah, I'm still in it. Yeah, and it's okay if this is a loss. It's okay. I would rather take a loss following the rules than close it early and pat ourselves on the back and then watch it go to $24 in one day. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. It's just there are like several things that could happen that would make that happen, but none of them are happening, and the stock market is an absolute beast. Last question, and then we're out of here. How far do I think NBRV could go? I think NBRV could go all the way below $1 if it's bad. And I think that it does want to go to, I'm going to answer that question very clearly. I look for the most clearly missed pivot, this weekly pivot from September of 2019. Price never even got near to it. That's the pivot that it wants to go back to. So I say $2.32. Okay. I'm going to pause the recording.